Hello, my name is Tarja. I'm a middle school English teacher at the Kendall School. And my name is Leah. I also teach middle school at the Kendall School in social studies. Do you as teachers believe that our job is to make students uncomfortable, to put them in situations that encourage discussion? I believe it is. And trust us, our kids are ready to handle those types of situations. Before we get into the responsibilities of the teachers, let's talk a little bit about other things. Deaf people are an oppressed people in society. Deaf people of color are even more so. Standardized curriculum and textbooks don't recognize their history. If they're lucky, there may be a brief mention, but only that. That means that students may feel disconnected with history lessons. So how is it that we can create stories that they can relate to? For the past 2 years, Tarja and I have been developing a balanced curriculum in our classrooms. A curriculum that works together across social studies and ELA. We work to provide different perspectives in our classrooms. We know that many stories are hidden and don't appear in textbooks. Using this approach, we have seen students become increasingly motivated and participatory in our lessons. Being a person that mediates between students and hard truths may open up difficult conversations. But you need to be somebody that students can trust. Oftentimes when students see that teachers are willing to engage in uncomfortable conversations, and that you admit genuinely that you might not know the answer to some of those things, they find some comfort in that, and they're happy to learn together. It's important that you as an educator turn your learning space into a genuine space for all. I'd like for us to take some time to talk about a common problem across the U.S. education system. That being that the demographics of students and teachers don't match. In Washington, D.C. in particular, in the D.C. public school system, 80% of students are students of color, whereas 80% of instructors are white. That's our reality in the education system today in America. The implications of that is that students of color spend 33 and some odd hours in school without being able to relate to stories of their own experience. So is that fair to those students if a teacher is only teaching their stories that they're personally comfortable with? English and social studies tend to overlap. Both classrooms tend to include a lot of reading, research, and in-depth discussion. Sometimes we see the same topics with different lenses. And so we have decided to use shared curricula between our two classrooms so that what students learn in one can be applied to the other. We encourage our kids to make connections with the content. We know that in so doing, they will be able to apply different concepts, perspectives from different disciplines in their own learning and life. Using many resources, we've recognized that students feel like this learning is fun when we've been able to integrate parts of our history with hands-on learning exercises that we'll present today. Even though these present uncomfortable truths or hot topics, they are important for our students. So the first project we're going to talk to you about is our mock Columbus trial. I'm sure you all know the rhyme. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Many United States history classes teach that, from elementary school up into the higher grades. It provides some sense that Columbus did a great job at discovering a new continent and helping our country grow into what it is today. But really, his history is full of killings and enslavement and rapes and other uncomfortable things. On an annual basis in our school, we teach our students about Christopher Columbus. And many students learn about him in the sense of him being a hero. But there are some misunderstandings about the true sense of his history. So we first have to discuss the history and the myth behind the man in a way that uses primary and secondary resources in our social studies classroom. We use a book titled Encounter by Jane Yolen, which helps students understand some of the other perspectives around this story. This book helps students understand the impact of Columbus's actions through the eyes of a young child. The story is fictional, but the author presents the arrival of Columbus through the experience of a young Indigenous person. This helps our students understand historical events, relate to them, and critically think about them. After discussing the book, we head into a mock trial, something we've been doing for the last 2 years. So our classes work together in this trial to run it. We assign different roles. We talk about the millions, potentially the thousands or millions of enslavements, killings, and other bad events that happened in that area. And we use primary and secondary resources to encourage the students to take two sides of the story in a trial environment. So we have the Indigenous people, we have Columbus, we have Columbus's crew, we have the King and Queen of Spain as actors, and then we have a system of empire. And then finally, we have the jury. And these are all roles that we assign to these students. They enjoy getting into their characters and acting them out in the mock trial. This is a good trial for everyone, especially for the person who is assigned Columbus, who has to defend his innocence. The American School for the Deaf is proud to sponsor the National Deaf Education Conference, which has created the NDEC Signs and NDEC Engage series this year. During the pandemic, we need to be creative and thoughtful about how we reach our communities, and NDEC has done that for our instructors, administrators, and parents. Thank you. The people, they took children, they killed them, they were evil. There were killings and beatings, all in the name of gold, of pillaging these people's wealth. It was terrible. And there was a big disconnect between the people who were running these things and the laborers, the people who were forced to toil. I blame the system of empire. We know that this system of empire is causing these problems in society. The system has failed us. They have killed us. The king and queen refuse to provide any help. And they make all of the choices for us. Students really enjoy these activities. We encourage participation and hands-on learning through them. What we really find is that students want to know the truth. They come to us and say they feel like they deserve to know the truth. And we feel that schools owe Indigenous communities the truth about what happened in history, and not to paint the story better than it was. I really liked learning about Christopher Columbus and that truth in history. Now when we celebrate Columbus Day, I know more about the story, not just the lies of it being all positive. This has helped me to become more aware about our history. What I liked about the Columbus mock trial is that I learned a lot, but I also had a lot of fun. It didn't just feel like schoolwork, which can sometimes be boring, but it actually felt really fun. I got to act and take on the role of my character. I think this is important because we need to know the real story of history and not shadow the facts that may have happened. Through this, we've found more out about Christopher Columbus, the crimes that he may have committed against these people, and we can apply that to current day issues of racism. The second project that we work on together is an annual Black Lives Matter activity in our school. We talk about the 13 guiding principles and the foundations in America of oppression against the Black community. As you can see, our recurring theme is telling our students the truth. Sometimes as teachers, we may feel uncomfortable with that, and that we may disturb the classrooms, that we may open a can of worms. But we don't feel like that's necessarily true. Telling the truth doesn't get enough credit, in our opinion. We find that it helps students understand the hard realities of our society, the fact that some people aren't as equal as others. And it helps them to understand more about the inequalities that they don't see on a regular basis. How we were treated or mistreated in the past has a huge impact on where we stand now in our current society. Big parts of our history impact us today, and oppression and racism are parts of that. These topics come up more in our everyday discussion now, as our lives are more and more intertwined with the media. Thankfully, the Black Lives Matter movement, Week of Action, has many resources that we can use. The two of us have talked about using the 13 guiding principles in our teaching. And we've realized that those 13 guiding principles are important across the spectrum for many different walks of life, more than we probably think. The principles address a lot of issues that include and go far beyond racism. Let me give you a few examples of what those 13 guiding principles emphasize. They emphasize the importance of caring for each other. They emphasize respecting different family structures. They emphasize supporting and recognizing the LGBTQ plus community and their accomplishments. They emphasize the value of working with people outside your peer and age groups. We've also incorporated a discussion about the concept of Black Lives Matter as a saying in the face of the saying All Lives Matter. This engages our students to understand that saying Black Lives Matter does not exclude non-Black people from mattering, but that we want to draw attention to the inequities that Black people experience in modern society. We know that Black children are at risk for lower qualities of education, and that they often end up in a school-to-prison pipeline. When Black children don't see themselves in a standard curriculum, that becomes a problem. We here at the Kendall School care about recognizing our differences. This includes supporting Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter focuses on the 13 guiding principles. These principles raise up people and recognize their contributions to society. This hands-on project has been important and effective for many reasons. Some children of color have finally been able to experience being taught by people of the same walk of life and the truths that they experience. Some children of color don't have access to language at home, so finally in the school setting they're able to see their own stories being told. This project reframes the way we address systemic racism. The 13 guiding principles remind us that we all are engaging in the various layers of that system, and through different lenses, we can see how they contribute to each other and to our society. This allows students to realize that there are different small parts that lead to racism and the inequities that we see in the world. This also helps white students in particular understand how our history may look different than the history that Black and students of color experience. This provides opportunities for students to reflect about their own privilege. Black Lives Matter is important for me because it really impacts everyone. If we take advantage of the opportunity to listen to each other with open hearts and open minds, and to hear each other's stories, it becomes an important opportunity for us to connect over our shared history. Continuing to expose people at school, especially, is important because school is a place that we go to learn, and students need to learn about why Black Lives matter. It helps them better respond to things in the world that they no doubt will see. I think this is important because what we're learning right now about Black people and where they come from is something that we need to know. What Black Lives Matter means to me is that we are in the midst of a powerful movement that says that Black people are still human and that we deserve to be treated fairly and equitably. We know that these types of teaching topics may be tough, may be challenging, that they may incite some heavy discussion in your classroom, and that you may be uncomfortable with it. We owe a debt of gratitude to those who are willing to share truthfully. Technology and resources have really been great for us, and they've been things that we've been able to pass along to parents for them to use at home. Our job is always to address inequities in the education process. We believe that we can start by bringing up hard truths in our classrooms. As we already mentioned, DC is a majority POC community, whereas most of our teachers are white. That doesn't mean that we as teachers should neglect our responsibility to tell our students their own histories. We'd like to thank the Zinn Education Project and the DC Area Educators for Social Justice groups for all of their support that they've given us along the way, including resources and making sure that their events are accessible.